All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this now Thursday, this Thursday, March 30th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Andrea. Buongiorno to him. Leda, Lawrence, Jeff, loud and clear from all. Great to see all of us right now. Joining us inside our live trading room. Great to have all of us back on social, otherwise, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. Brian back from Vegas, he writes here. Great to have Brian back with us here. How is the Olds doing, Brian? The Oldsmobile that he's been working on. Love to hear on that. And give me a good video of that once again, Brian. He says, excellent, perfect. So with that, hey, taking us into the afternoon, market's making a tiny bounce right now, but we'll see how far that will take us. Either way, AI, I think, is so strong. This has a good chance to be our afternoon runner. So, right away, we'll put this on our list to begin. We're really familiar with AI. We talked about it in class less than 24 hours ago still at this point from the phase 3 stock course yesterday afternoon. We were clamoring about a couple of big levels that we had on this stock from yesterday and really from like the last several weeks. Give me a quick second here just to adjust my chart. So ultimately, I mean, it gapped up. Unfortunately, it did what I didn't really want it to do. It ended up just kind of squeezing up in the after hours, pre-market, never made the drop back down towards 25.88, 25.89, 26 level there. It ended up just popping out the gate there. It took off pretty nicely. But just a moment ago, the stock finally decided to branch back off of 27, and also 26.90. That was a pretty big level as well heading into the market open, big iceberg order. So really it was 90 that held better, but under and over from 27 led to a good squeeze. So yeah, definitely going into the afternoon, we'll put this back on our list. As far as where the next resistance is, I have a couple of other lines plotted on my main chart here. I'll just copy or emulate them for right now. 27.46 is one. It's going to be a little range of resistance coming up here, 27.46, 27.55. Always kind of rely on the higher of the two prices, but both of them together are a pretty strong range of resistance. If it could break above that, we would have 28, and then from there, I'll tell you, we got a pretty big historical level, pretty far up higher, but right off of basically 28.50, it was like 28.47 or so forth, but yep, those are a couple of key levels to watch heading into the close. Now, Sam asking here in the chat, would you short it down to 26.95? How about this? Let me ask all of the students that were with me the past 2 days, the past 2 afternoons when I was tagging in for Fausto in the phase 3 class. Is that a good idea to begin or not? What do you think? And the reason I say that out loud is because, well, hey, we covered this yesterday in our main classes in phase 3. And, hey, the more that we kind of realize this now will prevent us from making, not to say bad trades, but not going against the wind here, right? Not going against the wind. The last 2 days in the afternoons, we were breaking above resistance, follow the trend, right? The trend is your friend. Now, is it possible it could make a head fake and pull back? Yeah, it is, but this stock is up for a reason. The whole sector has been flying up the last couple months, so it would not be as responsible to think short out the gate here. Hey, even think about it off of 27 as a short going into the mid-afternoon. If you were looking for that, that is a more apropos opportunity for that because it's making lower highs. It broke under 27. But if it's failing to make that drop that you would expect, then that's where you flip script. And I didn't short this, at least heading into the afternoon. I was only focused on long. So in this trade right now, off 27, a little over, and we'll see if this keeps squeezing up higher into the afternoon. But hey, I'll call it quits on the long if it makes a head fake or lower highs for me. Then maybe then game on for a short. But either way, definitely focus on the long first. All right, and it's a good question to ask. Very good question to ask, right? It's a question that will prevent you from taking a bad trader, losing a lot of money perhaps. So, what we'll do is go from top to bottom, folks. Otherwise, actually, my scanner here is a little messed up. I don't know what happened there. Got a wonky platform right now. There we go. All right, so we'll go from top to bottom. Definitely good start here with AI. And actually now the SPY pushing back up ever so slightly a little bit more right now. So, we'll see if there's any other stocks that look good or as better, whatever the case may be. SCYX, actually looking at the last couple of hours, looks really good. And I just moved back up. This stock, though, normally does not trade a lot of volume per minute. or a lot of volume per day rather, let alone per minute. But just given how much it had pumped up back from last week, this stock should be more exhausted. Certainly now making the test up towards 295 and 3, failing to even hit 3 and coming back down. I'll put it on our side list. I'll come back to this for, at the end. I'll just check in with it. If it holds well enough here, I'll give it a look. But it could prevent us from following stocks that look a lot better right now, like the Pally trade or AI. But Pally too. Pally definitely making a strong pop. And this stock we are pretty familiar with. About a year ago, I believe. Not from February. It had to have been over a year ago. It had to have been, I don't even think it was back from the end of last year, probably further than that. Just if anything, maybe back from the end of November. It had to have been even prior to that, even. The stock has had to have done a couple of different reverse stock splits over the last year or so. It was definitely right around here. And this Pally stock was not 40, 50, 60 bucks back then. Just goes to show when a stock does a reverse split, much more often than not, at least, they're doing it to remain above NASDAQ or NYSE listing requirements. So, over time, that's not really bullish. Over time, the stock only dropped off lower and lower. They probably did another split over time. Hey, is it possible for this to be a really good day trade? Of course, looks good right now. So I'm going to put this on our main list. But when the volume peaks and then dies off, that's where you need to be really careful for this to pull back and tank. So, it's not a swing trade opportunity. It's definitely just more of a day trade. All right, we'll keep it pushing here. Box D, a little pop and drop there, cheap stock. PYXS, wow, the gift that really just keeps on giving. This stock ended up head faking off of 6 earlier, and I think it was like maybe the next attempt in which it tested it, it re-broke over, and from there made a much better run. So from that point led to the next leg up across the early to mid-afternoon. Now at this point, definitely pulling back under 6. I know it's still kind of nearby the VWAP, but trends down here off the highs. I think the run is done on this trade. Now, hey, Sam, this stock is actually, now that I'm realizing it, this stock is actually easy to borrow. So is it possible if it ends up showing more weakness here, breaks below the VWAP here and 575 perhaps, or 573 perhaps here, big iceberg. If it breaks below this, is it possible for a short? Yeah, definitely, especially with how much the stock ran up the last back-to-back days. So either way, I'll put this on our list. I would focus at first to see if this can show another pop, but if it fails to, then you think short. PYXS. SGBX. All right, we got a little spotty. Not a whole lot happening there. Toro, another stock that popped once again today from yesterday's run. Pop and drop yesterday. It popped up nicely so far today going into the early afternoon, and then there's the drop. I know it's trying to grind back up again here. I guess I'll write it down on the side list, but probably not as likely to put this on our main list for right now. If it ends up making a big pop, then that's always subject to change, but EVGO was a nice trade from earlier this morning. Had popped up pretty quickly after the open off of 660. Ended up running up just close to a buck higher. Topped off, I guess, 80 cents higher, 740. But ended up running up pretty well. Ended up topping off roughly around that reversal time, a little after 10:30. So good move for the EVGO trade. This is EV related, right? So EVGO, there's a couple of others out there that should the sector look to make another strong run up. What do we have? We had CLSK Clean Spark. This thing's not doing much right now, obviously. Had to have just been company specific for EVGO, but just relating to a couple of other, EV affiliates out there. ChargePoint CHPT, up over 1%, but not really doing much of anything. Maybe keep them in mind if the sector makes another pop coming up or a big move, but let's see what else we got here. Otherwise, this one's not looking as good either way, the EVGO. ACHV, not much happening there. FLNC, same deal. We got BuzzFeed. That thing dropped off a lot more. Another buck from where we last followed it. PYBI or PBYI, my dyslexia there, but ended up popping and dropping already. You got the Rent, RENT trade. Rent is due tomorrow, or actually on the first, couple days. But nonetheless here, the stock ended up making a nice pop from the morning. Fausto had called it out early, but, just kind of grinded on up. It was a good trade to make money on at first, but just died off after. All right, so there's definitely a little bit more that's up that, 5% or more that I look for. So for Sam or John or Mario or Mark, any one of us in the chat here, let me know if there's anything else moving that's looking good, on the way up, namely. Let me hop over to the loser side in between, seeing if there's anything good there. There we go. ANGO. Ooh, the stock's dropping off pretty nicely. Order book kind of thin. Spread is kind of tolerable right now, but the fact it's dropping off so nicely here, it's hard for us to not put on our list. It's like just like finding a stock that's right at the highs and just grinding on up there pretty nicely. So yeah, this stock is moving pretty well on the way down. Not at all-time lows yet. Go to a monthly just to double check. It's getting a little close. This thing is actually breaking under some historical support, really from like about 10 or so years ago. I know it broke under that price at one point there, but kind of right around, loosely speaking, right around like $9, probably a little over 9. Yeah, like 9.12, the low here from 2008. But look at the reactions off of this level, though. It goes to show, like, basically 9.12, right around that area is a pretty strong historical level. And over time here, it shook under and over it in little shakes, for a few months at a time there, but it's back under it. So this could lead to a big move on the way down at this point here. So ANGO, yeah, I'll put on our list initially as a short. If this ends up making higher lows, breaks above here, perhaps off of 890, then there's a chance for a dead cat bounce. But if it was down more percentage-wise today, I'd say maybe look for that bounce a little bit further. But this is definitely showing weakness here to the downside. Actually, it's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Weakness to the downside. It's like strength to the downside, right? All right, there we go. Always catch myself there. PRQR, either way right now, it's like, actually, this stock, if we were to go back on this, we were talking about this, if not from yesterday, then perhaps from the day before. Because now that I look at the daily chart, I remember seeing this gap here, and it's pretty interesting to see. We took our eyes off this stock from that time, so we didn't really short this today. But this really filled the gap, didn't it? Wow, that is a clean gap fill right there. Is it going to bounce? Nah, I'm not there to answer that question as much. We were kind of following it more on the way down as a short opportunity, and just goes to show, really, that continued very nicely for us. KPTI dropping off there. Not much happening, though, really. The Boyle, not much happening. Pretty slow. ETF as well. All right, folks. So once again, let me just get your hand here. If there's anything up or down, moving either direction, left or right, more than 5%, just type it in the chat board here. I'm going to go to YouTube first. Going to go to social streams first just to check. Nothing from there, and that's A-okay, because I'll tell you what, it was pretty slow and quiet market, pretty slow and quiet inside our trading room up until 2:15. So otherwise, let me take a look at VKTX. Folks, really quickly, if you have any chats for me, just post in the main chat right now, unless if it's any other questions that we were talking about from earlier. Just a couple of us there. VKTX, just taking a look at from Sam. Yeah, this one looks pretty strong. I don't know if I covered it already. If I ignored it, then well, here we go. I mean, yeah, moving up pretty nicely. Maybe it's not up enough for me to find it on the gainer side, but we were talking about it all from earlier this morning and definitely showing strength still to the upside. So with that, yeah, we'll put this back on our list in hopes of the higher high up towards 18 eventually. All right, so folks, let me jump back to the couple from our side list here, and then we'll finish up. SCYX, not much happening there. Toro, not much happening there. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up for right now. So for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works, I appreciate you folks sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. A lot of talking today. Need to refill up on the water for right now. But hey, any questions that you got from me, feel free to shoot me a quick email. Josh@ctutrading.com is my handle. But otherwise, if you're interested in joining us inside our live trading room, all you got to do is go right down to the link on the green banner below. It will actually give you access to a day long access inside our live trading room for free. So again, if you wanted to do that, just go right down to the link on the banner below right there on social. But we look forward to having you soon enough. For all of us there right now, Grant, Michael, John, Elizabeth, Leda, etc. Hey, folks, Rich will be on the mic taking you into the close from 3 o'clock onward. I'll be on a couple of coaching calls with some students, like really up until 4 p.m. So I'll be in the chat, but I'll be on coaching. So, if there's any trades that I take, I'll let you folks know. We'll see how they do. But best of luck trading for all going into the end of the day today. Take care.